Yo, what's good, man? This is your boy, DFS Mastermind _ over on Twitter, man. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate the time. I want to talk to you about the upcoming slate. The date is January the 8th. We have an 8-game slate. Should be tons of fun. Before I get into my picks, I got to let you know how my night went. Now, of course, I said I wanted to game stack this San Antonio and Portland game. Right idea, man. It was a wonderful game to stack. Dame Dollar was a late scratch, man. Oh, that makes me so mad. But I was still able to cash in my cash games. And, man, I had a beautiful lineup. Ended up putting up 290 with the goose egg from Dame Dollar. Manu Ginobili absolutely went ham. Had a pretty good feeling about him. He well exceeded what I thought he was going to get. I was just expecting like a 25-piece. He returned a 40-piece, man, on a very, very cheap price tag. So that was a beautiful play. LaMarcus Aldridge went in. Lopez had a pretty decent game. I forgot who else I was recommending. DeJounte Murray was a huge letdown. Very bad on DeJounte Murray. And I don't even think Patty Mills had a wonderful game either. But whether we win, lose, or draw, we're going to stick to the process. We're not going to dwell on yesterday's results. We're going to stay process-oriented, and we're going to focus on this slate upcoming. So let's get into it. My top picks for point guard, man. If I'm paying up, I'm keeping it real simple. Now, I do like Curry. I have to put that out there. I think he's in a wonderful spot going up against Denver. I think he's A-OK. Chris Paul is all right, man. He's a little too expensive for me, but we know he's going to have the usage. Pretty decent matchup as far as DVP and just individual matchups. I think he's fine. But my favorite, if I'm paying up, is going to be Kyle Lowry going up against Brooklyn. DVP, man. Brooklyn is 29th. I think Kyle Lowry has a wonderful bounce-back game. It should be a fast-paced game. I think he's in a beautiful situation. So I want to pay up for him. I definitely will have him, so we want to lock him in. Y'all know I got to hit you with the value, though. So let's go down to the value range and see what we can pull together. Now, it's not a lot, man. I got like 3 options for you, and then I'm going to highlight my favorite. I think George Hill is in a good spot. I'm pretty sure he'll be back. I know the reason he didn't play because his wife was pregnant. I'm pretty sure they had the baby, so I think he should be back with the team. Should have a pretty solid game, man. Should be playing motivated. Y'all know the baby narratives in sports are real. A lot of players like to just dedicate the first game back to their newborn, so I think he's in a good spot going up against his old squad at that. So you got the baby narrative and the revenge narrative for George Hill. I think he's fine. Another guy that I like is going to be Tony Parker. We know San Antonio's on the back-to-back. They rested Tony Parker for a good reason, man, because they want to use him in this matchup. Now, I think Tony Parker has a good matchup himself going up against George Hill. So I don't mind Tony Parker at 4 racks. But my favorite guy is going to be Dwight Bikes. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. Now, this guy, I played him the past 2 games, and his price is just now starting to go up a little bit. Watching a few of his games, man, he is a very, very solid player. One thing we know about him, he's going to get the backup minutes. I am definitely willing to pay $3,700 for a backup point guard who's going to see 20-plus minutes. Going up against New Orleans, we know it's a wonderful matchup. Rondo defense or Jameer Nelson defense. He's A-OK. And one thing I really love about him, he has the trust of Van Gundy, man. Like, he was leaving him in the end of the game on the last time they played Houston. So I think that is a beautiful, wonderful sign. I think they're anxious to get him in, see what he can do. And Reggie Jackson, well, I should say Ish Smith, he may actually be in a little trouble, man, because we know Van Gundy loves Reggie, man. He plays that man all the time. And Ish Smith has not been doing as solid as you may think. He had the reins, and they're starting to work this young guy in. He is very, very solid. That's the guy I want to recommend for tomorrow. But I mentioned 3 or 4 other point guards that I think you can choose from. I will more than likely match Bikes up with Kyle Lowry. That's my point guard plays. Moving on to shooting guard, tons of options. Depot I think he had 5 steals in the first quarter last game. 5 steals first quarter. That is crazy. We can't look for him to duplicate that, but one thing about Depot, man, he's been doing it all year, man. He's been one of the top thieves in the NBA, so we can look for him in a pretty decent matchup versus Milwaukee. We just seen DeRozan torch these guys. Victor Oladipo's feeling healthy. I don't mind paying up for him, but my top shooting guard is going to be Eric Gordon going up against Chicago. In my last video, I mentioned that I want to attack shooting guards versus Chicago. It is a real trend. This is who Depot just had a good game versus. Like, the trend is there. Game before that, Wesley Matthews. I recommended him, and he had like a 30-piece. The trend is there. I know EG's price is very, very high, but I think he will bring back value. No James Harden. Sometimes he tries to act like James Harden, and I hope he does that tomorrow and puts up a ton of shots. I really love him as my top shooting guard. Moving down, when we get towards the value, a guy I got to highlight is going to be Justin Holiday. On the opposite end of Eric Gordon, we know Eric Gordon is not going to defend his heart out. That's one thing he really does not care about. So I think Holiday is in a very, very good spot. He's been playing very solid minutes. Minus that last game, it was a blowout. It was a dud. I'm gonna leave that one alone and not look too much into it because I know what happened. So I think he's in a pretty decent situation. And then last but not least, the guy I really want to recommend is coming from the same team as Bikes. It's going to be Avery Bradley. He's back healthy, playing big minutes. He just has to get this shot falling, man. It's coming sooner than later. Going up against New Orleans is a pretty positive matchup, and I'm really just in love with this price tag. Y'all know I've been eating around this price tag. I've always been trying to keep my shooting guards in like the 5K range, and I think Bradley is a nice candidate for tomorrow's slate, so I want to go ahead and recommend him. Moving on to small forward at the top. If KD is in, I really want to get KD. I think he's in a fantastic spot going up against Denver. I don't see nobody who can guard him, man. I think it'll just be a mismatch, especially if we get news that Curry may sit or Draymond may sit. But I think Draymond is definitely in. Curry, I believe he's questionable. But if we get Durant coming off the calf injury, maybe people will be a little shy on him coming back, so I would be willing to fire him up. Think he's in a fantastic spot. But my favorite high price small forward is Jimmy Buckets, man. I've been on the Jimmy Buckets train, been playing him almost every game. Versus Boston was a huge letdown, but going up against King James, he will elevate his play. And I just like him, man. The offense is running through him. He is a very, very solid player. I shouldn't have to, talk about Jimmy Buckets too much. We all know what he's capable of. I think he'll fill up the stat sheet tomorrow and try to go blow for blow with King James. So I want to lock him in as my top small forward. Once we get down to value, we have a few options. I like Kyle Anderson just because we know Kawhi will be out. He's going to have to play big minutes. I think he's fine. Another guy I really like is Trevor Ariza. I think his price is getting too low, man. I think it's getting way too low. So I'm looking in at Trevor Ariza. Also, I like Allen Crabbe, man. 4,800. No DeMarre Carroll. He should have to play big minutes. Then the last two, I got Sam Decker for you. I don't know if Blake Griffin will be in. This is one of those spots I was talking about. We have some what ifs on the slate. So if Blake Griffin is out, I think Sam Decker and Wesley Johnson could potentially pick up some extra minutes. And I wouldn't be too shy on them, man. I think they'll have to play big minutes. I think it'll be a pretty decent situation going up against Atlanta, so I wouldn't shy away from that. And last but not least, Wilson Chandler, 4,600. I know it's ugly. I know it's not a beautiful play, but he is the starter. He's going to play 30 minutes, and he's going to score more times than he's not going to score. I know he has duds all the time, not super consistent with the scoring, but I love his floor, man. We're not asking for a ton of points. 4,600, we're asking for around 25 points to go 5x. So I think he's in an A-OK spot going up against Golden State. It should be a fast-paced matchup. I think he'll be fine, man. So that's the guy I want to recommend. But other options, man, we have a ton of options. You know what? I'm going to take that out. I'm not even going to recommend Wilson Chandler. I'm just going to leave it to you because at this point, I really don't know. But the lineup I built, right now, I have Wilson Chandler in there, but I think Alan Crabb or Trevor Ariza, if you want a little more security, I think they're fine plays. But I know one guy, I'm going to just go ahead and give you Jimmy Buckets because I know for sure he will be in my lineup. And then just pay attention to those value plays. Of course, we have other value that can come out before lock, so make sure you keep your eyes and ears open on that. Moving on to power forward. If Draymond Green plays, he is my top power forward. No questions asked about it. That's the guy I want to pay up for. Now, if Draymond Green is out, man, we're going to look at Jordan Bell for value. And then I'm going to get you some of my other value plays, man. Montrezl Harrell, I think he's in a very, very good spot if Blake Griffin is out. And then Jordan Bell, man. Also, if Zebo misses again, I think we could fire up Skal Labissiere one more time. And I think all three of those guys are in very, very good spots. We're just waiting for potential value. So if we get Draymond Green out, Jordan Bell. If Draymond Green is in, he's my top power forward. And then if we get Blake Griffin out, we're going to go to Montrezl Harrell. I think that guy is a very hustle type player, man. He can crush this value. 4,900. He'll be forced to play 30-plus minutes, man, so I don't mind him at all. So let's move on to center, wrapping it up. I got 3 potential centers for you, all in high price points. I got Jokic for you. Think he's in a beautiful spot going up against Golden State. DeAndre Jordan with no Blake Griffin going up against who? Atlanta, man. Y'all know the trend by now. I always attack bigs versus Atlanta. Jordan should be in a fantastic spot. Just a beautiful situation to dominate the boards and get up some shots, man. With no Blake Griffin, he'll have to produce more, man. I look for him to catch a lot of oops from Lou Will, so it should be a really good spot for him. And last but not least, Kevin Love. He's the cheapest of the 3, going up against his old squad, man. Minnesota really struggles guarding centers. We know Big Cat is dominant on the offensive end. Defense, he's one of those guys, man. He's not giving it all they have. And Minnesota is one of the worst defensive teams in the NBA, man. So I think Kevin Love will be in a fantastic spot. And yeah, that's pretty much gonna do it, man. Hopefully y'all found this video helpful. I want y'all to bless up, man. One thing I will make sure I do tomorrow, I will be posting on my Twitter and my Instagram of my final plays when we get closer to lock. I know I was stumbling through this video a lot. Probably wasn't the smoothest thing, man, but I'm getting tired. You see it's 2 a.m. Just got done with the research, man, but I want y'all to bless up. Let's get to the green line. Hit me up. Follow me on all social media at DFS Mastermind. That's going to do it for me. Bless up. Let's get it.